Good luck, Harry Potter.
Well, cover me with eggs and flour and bake me for 40 minutes.
Hello, and welcome to ScreenMasters with me, Bav.
Me, Fluff.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue looking at the Ip Man movie series, the one starring Donnie Yen. As we discussed last time, there are a few different interpretations, but these are the ones that we are choosing to look at. So today we'll be covering Ip Man 3, Ip Man 4, and the spin-off, hang on, give me a second, I got it, Master Z, Ip Man Legacy.
Correct.
That's what it's called. So yes, as usual, let's get the admin out of the way. You can join in the conversation and see what's going on with us over at the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/the ScreenMasters. You can go and watch our stuff over on YouTube, which is bit.ly/bitebackYT, or you can email us directly at screenmasters@bitebackmedia.co.uk, and in both instances the byte is spelt as a computer byte, not a food byte. So today I would like to turn to the words
Here it comes.
late 90s, well, mid to late 90s, I suppose, really, pop rock band.
Go on.
Republica,
right, okay.
Republica. Now this, okay, let me just read some lines, right?
Okay.
So, starting from the beginning.
Okay.
Kowloon Gardens was somewhere a shortcut through, till I met you. Now we're lying on your bed watching kung fu movies. There are no days or nights, just you and me and Bruce Lee.
Appropriate. Fitting.
Exactly. Now,
Okay.
even more ridiculously, because obviously, if you're anything like me, people out there, as far as you were aware, Republica had one song. It was called Ready to Go, if you remember that one from the mid-90s. And that's the only song I think anyone ever knew of them. But reading more and more about that particular song called Kung Fu Movies, it's actually directly about Ip Man. It goes on to talk about Kowloon and training in the dojos, and a couple of different fighting styles are mentioned. It's ridiculous that just randomly I happen to put a song.
How appropriate. There you go.
Entirely appropriate to exactly the subject matter we're looking at. So I thought I'd keep that one in today. So, it's not been a huge amount of time since we last met, but I have been watching some things.
Yeah, I've been watching
things that I thought I would mention. I mean, obviously, I've undertaken, for the listeners, I've begun the undertaking of all 7 seasons of Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated series, which is obviously for a future episode. So yes, that is the majority of my time, but I have been watching some other things. But you go ahead. I've talked enough so far. Let me have you tell us what you've been watching.
No, likewise, like you say, I have finished the final season of the Clone Wars, so I had finished that. So I look forward to talking with you in earnest about that. Your hesitation of discussing all things, say, Darksaber, etc., will soon vanish once you've started watching these, which is nice.
Quite, because yes, that's where I'm going to learn the secrets of it, but fair enough.
Yeah, so again, that's for a throwback to the Mandalorian episode, which we did a little while back, where we were discussing the Darksaber, which appears at the end, and it's kind of explained within Clone Wars, and then the subsequent series Rebels, which again, hopefully you'll get around to watching. So yeah, I finished the last series of that thoroughly enjoyed it. A lot to talk about, but we can obviously talk about that at that separate stage. The other thing that I've been very, very focused on watching and catching up with the past 2 seasons of The Dark Side of the Ring, which I know, again, we've talked about off pod. So for those who don't know what Dark Side of the Ring is, it is tales from the not so nice parts of wrestling lore, wrestling history. So we've got episodes which are based around different characters or different personalities from that era. The murder of Bruiser Brody, which was absolutely fascinating. Didn't know much about that. That was really interesting. Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. Again, everybody knows who Randy Savage is. If you've even heard pro wrestling, you'll know who, say, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage is from the 80s. That was really interesting. There are the sad ones.
Bonesaw in the first Spider-Man as well.
Yes,
the
he
Tobey
was.
Maguire
Yes,
Spider-Man.
yes,
He was Bonesaw.
yes, he was. Yes, he was. The sad episodes about Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, that was very heartbreaking to watch.
That was a heartbreaker. That one, absolutely.
Again, just shows the incredibly awesomeness of Chris Jericho, as we all know anyway. The guy's a true superstar for the things that he did. And obviously this week was the last of the second series, which covered the events leading up to the death of Owen Hart, which again we've discussed off pod. Is something
that was a heartbreaking one.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
I mean, watching that live when that happened way back when, I can still remember way back in the 90s when me and my brother were watching that on pay-per-view and that whole thing. So yeah, so that's although it's not the nicest and happiest of programs, it was something that was thoroughly enjoyable as a wrestling fan. And if you are a wrestling fan, I do encourage you to find and watch the Dark Side of the Ring.
It's a fantastic documentary series. I mean, even some of them, yes, I would say you're probably going to get more out of it if you're a wrestling fan. But ones like the Cocaine and Cowboy Boots, the Herb Abrams story, if you're just aware that wrestling is a thing that happens, then you don't really need to know anything more about wrestling to hear the story, to understand the story of a new startup business that comes up to try and take over the big boys and fails due to ridiculous mismanagement and substance abuse largely. But I think that one is the most accessible I've seen so far, because you don't need to know the inner workings of the wrestling business. It is just about a new upstart trying to take on the big boys and his journey therein.
Yeah, I mean, as a lifelong wrestling fan, obviously I took a dip for a good number of years, but I never knew as much about the history of some of this as has been revealed. It's been really, really enjoyable to kind of watch this stuff. Yeah, some stuff I knew about because it was during the era that I was watching it. But yeah, so that's kind of been my watches again was in the last, say, week or so. How about yourself? I know you've been caning through Clone Wars, but I'm sure you've been watching other things.
Well, me and the children watched one only yesterday, actually, and I had to mention it. And maybe apologies, everyone, if I go too far on this one, because it is just a kids' film at the end of the day. But it really disappointed me.
Here we go. Okay. So it's a children's film. Remember this. Come on.
I know. But I dipped my toes into the shared universe that none of us knew we wanted or were fucking getting. Well, as far as I was concerned, I didn't know we were getting this. Oh, yes. The Hanna-Barbera shared universe.
Hanna-Barbera shared universe?
Oh, yeah. Right. It begins with Scoob, which is what I thought was like an origin story. Looking at the trailer, it's going to be a little bit origin story, a little bit, what you like from Scooby-Doo. I thought, perfect. We'll sit down with the kids for that.
Is it CGI?
Yes, it is, which I don't mind so much. And they actually do quite a good job of, they still animate the legs to whir around and stuff like the animation did and stuff. They make the slapstick moments look as impactful as they did in the old animation style. I thought they did a really good job with that. I like the animation. I think the voice cast's really good. Jason Isaacs, the baddie.
Well, it's got Jason Isaacs. How are you dissing it?
Wait till I tell you who the baddie is, though. Zac Efron is the voice of Fred. That's very good as well. He's quite good in that. But so yeah, apparently something I've never heard of, a character I've never heard of called the Blue Falcon. Now again, I understand that maybe in America we didn't necessarily get all the Hanna-Barbera stuff, but I think they did in America, or maybe Blue Falcon was earlier than some stuff. I don't know, right? But apparently there's this character and series called Blue Falcon, and it was all like spaceships and superhero. He was a superhero. He had a sidekick dog that was like a robot dog. And these are some of the first characters. Like, you follow Scooby-Doo, and you get the little origin bit at the beginning with him and Shaggy, which is all right, quite funny. About 15 minutes maybe, and then we move into, we go through a sort of montage, and then, because they meet the mystery gang and they form their little club and they foil a proper little Scooby-Doo mystery when they were kids and stuff, and that's how they bonded. So I'm along with all that stuff, and I liked that. Because that's what I thought I was going to get, was a Scooby-Doo movie. We then... Scooby and Shaggy end up separated from the group, and they get, essentially abducted by aliens, or so we think, but it turns out to be a super futuristic spaceship, and it's Blue Falcon. And the problem starts to creep in here for me, is that's not Scooby-Doo to me. And sometimes, like, not all the time, but sometimes with these franchise, trying to merge your universes and all this shit, originally it was the creators of these shows were trying to play in lots of different pools. They didn't want to play all at the same time, so they did the Jetsons based in some futuristic thing. They did Captain Caveman that was based in the prehistoric era or Mesozoic era or whenever. They did Wacky Races that was, a gumball rally type thing, and Catch the Pigeon, that was one of my favourites as well. They did
Catch the Pigeon was fantastic.
I fucking loved Catch the Pigeon. But anyway, all of these things were separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you ever mesh them, because it just starts to feel out of place. My example would be Indiana Jones dealing with aliens.
Oh,
ever... No, I'm not going to go into it, but I never...
Thank God.
That was my main issue. I never thought that gelled. I never saw how the two went together. Some people do, fair enough, but I never did. But I feel kind of the same about this. Spaceships and superheroes don't mesh with Scooby-Doo for me. Maybe. But again, I'm too old. So, we go through all this stuff anyway. We end up introducing Captain Caveman and all his people down in below the Earth's surface. Some sort of geothermal vent has allowed an island from the Mesozoic era, like a big inner cave, to be caught in the Mesozoic era.
Okay.
So Captain Caveman and all his buddies exist.
Okay.
The baddie we're introduced to right at the beginning of this is Dick Dastardly.
What?
Dick Dastardly is the baddie.
As in Dick Dastardly from Wacky Races.
Dick Dastardly from Wacky Races is the bad guy in this Scooby-Doo movie.
Okay.
Simon Cowell makes a guest appearance, which is crap.
Does he have Muttley?
No and yes. He's lost Muttley, and his drive for the film, we think, is for the money, but actually it's to get Muttley. He's trying to get Alexander the Great's money that he left, because Alexander the Great had a dog called Peritus, and Scoob is the last existing descendant of that bloodline of Alexander the Great's dog. What? Yes, you see what I mean? You see where we're going with this? Why? Why is all of this bollocks in a Scooby-Doo movie?
Maybe
take the fucking mask off Old Man Withers, get him down to the station, and give me my fucking line about meddling kids.
Here's the question. Here's the question, right? Now, I understand your little impassioned rant there. However, can I ask the simple question, did your kids enjoy it?
Of course it did. It was because, to be honest, again, I may have my issues with this, and I just my biggest issue is that it tried to do too much. It was introducing the Blue Falcon, all his surrounding cast. None of us knew who they were. The kids don't really know who he is now, but it tried to introduce him. Mark Wahlberg voices him, by the way. He's quite funny actually, because he's like, his dad was the Blue Falcon, and he's the sort of bit lazy, bit crap son.
But is it one of those films where, it will do mediocre,
I don't think
internationally and domestically, it will do big set, because, like you say, Scooby-Doo is an American kind of institution.
Yeah, exactly. And
all that kind of stuff. So they'll be familiar because they've got. It's like the the Tom Hanks film, Welcome to the Neighborhood. We had no real understanding of who this character is, but to an American audience, that's different. So sometimes I get it. Some of their jokes play to their audience, not to ours.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think there's too much crude adult humor in there that they've hidden by assuming it's going to go over children's heads, right? And I just think sometimes it's a little bit dangerous because, and I also think it's unnecessary because, again, we look at films like, when you've got people like Pixar making films, when you've got, what was Studio Ghibli, whatever they might be now, or whether they still are, just not run by the same guy, I'm not really sure. But, the work that they've produced, And then even other independent animation studios. The Red Turtle was a fantastic animation from a couple of years ago. You've got all these people doing stuff that pleases the adults and the children. It's not because they've got dirty jokes in there hidden as double entendre. It's because they've got adult themes, or they're plucking at particular parts of parenthood for the adults in the crowd, whilst the children are entertained by the childish storyline going on in the forefront. You know, it's about depth and subtext when you get to be an adult, not necessarily just crude jokes. There is a section, because obviously Dick Dastardly is called Dick, and Scooby-Doo can't pronounce D's very well. So he's trying to tell him how to say his name. And he says it's Dick. And Scooby-Doo goes, Rick? He goes, no, Dick. Rick? Dick. And what you end up with is Jason Isaacs shouting at Scooby-Doo, no, it's Dick! 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 And you're like, oh, come on. Really? Like, I just think that's a bit lowest common denominator. I also think it's slightly dangerous, because if kids start quoting that in the playground, obviously not that we have any kids in playgrounds at the minute, but, you know, when kids are in school or whatever, and they're chatting to their mates, or they're playing with their mates when that comes a thing again, taken out of context, that child may very well get told off because of that. There are a couple of other lines that honestly I forget now, but they stuck out to me, and I thought, you've just made a rude joke, but you know that because of the way you phrased it, it'll go over children's heads. And that's not the point. That I don't like that way of trying to make a kids film appeal to adults.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, that isn't the way to do it for me. Go be better, write better, write deeper, put more thought into it, more subtext, as I say. But again, that's maybe just me. But yes, so we're getting some ridiculous shared universe, it would seem, from fucking Scooby-Doo and Blue Falcon, and Captain Caveman, and
that's the thing.
Dick
As soon
Dastardly.
as we had the success of shared universe, and then every bugger and the next door neighbor wants to do the same, just build on a kind of franchise thing. Eventually, this kind of shared universe thing will go.
Kind of hoped it had with the fucking Dark Universe, the was it Universal's Dark Universe? The one that started with the Mummy,
which failed miserably. And then they were going to do the Invisible Man and the Wolf Man.
Yeah,
and it's like, but nobody wants to see any of these films. I'm sorry, but they've been done and rehashed and redone so many goddamn times. I just don't care.
No, I believe they, if I remember rightly, they gave, when they decided, when it flopped and they decided, right, we're not going to do this, they gave up the licenses, which is why we got an Invisible Man film from Blumhouse earlier this year.
Yeah, with Elizabeth Moss, I believe.
Yes, which was I've not watched it yet, actually. I've got it downloaded to watch, but as far as I understand it, it's an interesting take on the story of it and how it's dealt with. Yes, apologies. So, like I say, it's a mostly unoffensive hour and a half of watching, but I do think it's overly complicated for its own good, and I think it tries to do far too much. The other thing that I have started watching this week with my daughter, because I saw it had started. Now, you know how much I love CW DC shows, don't you?
Oh, God.
So, my daughter...
okay, yeah. Now it's just suddenly... Yeah, Stargirl, okay, yeah.
So, Stargirl started this week. So, we've downloaded and watched the first episode, because I also looked and I saw Luke Wilson was in it.
Mm-hmm.
Playing
so is Joel McHale?
And exactly, I was like, holy crap, Joel McHale's in it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we decided we'd give it... Oh, and Amy Smart as well. So yeah, we decided we'd give it a go. It's all right. I don't really get what time period it's set in, because one minute everything seems really old-fashioned like you would expect, and then the next minute there seems to be technology that couldn't possibly exist in that day and age. So I'm a bit weirded at the minute, but I've only watched one episode. There's only been one so far. It's a CW Weekly, so I'll
enjoy the next 10 years of your life.
Come back to it, but Luke Wilson's all right. Joe McHale is in it for about 5 minutes, because he plays Starman, the previous holder of the Cosmic Staff. So at the very beginning of the thing, he dies. and Luke Wilson is
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers, mate. And Luke Wilson takes the cosmic staff and keeps it safe. And then 10 years later, his stepdaughter finds it, Courtney Whitmore.
Mhm.
And so she starts mucking about with it. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's exactly what I expected it to be. It's not fabulously written. The CG is a bit ropey in places. I think Joel McHale, I don't know why he did it. I think it might have been for a bit of a laugh, because there's his sequence when he dies at the beginning. He absolutely plays it for laughs, because he's holding the cosmic staff, and Luke Wilson's over him, like, trying to help him, and he's like, this must go to the next person that's worthy. And he sort of starts passing it to Luke Wilson and then pulls back a little bit and goes, it's not you. It's got to go to someone who's absolutely worthy, pure of heart, okay? And starts putting it towards him again. He goes, just to be clear, definitely not you. And then starts lifting it. He does it about 3 times. And don't get me wrong, funny little joke. But the character is dying at that moment.
Sure.
And it just totally breaks the scene entirely, because you don't get a meaningful, like, oh my god, he's dead. You're sitting there chuckling to yourself because he's just done quite a funny little joke as he dies. It's what you'd expect in a parody. It's the equivalent of the Black Knight going, no, 'tis but a scratch. Come here, I'll bite your legs off. From Monty Python. So it that undercuts some things for me, but it's Joel McHale, so I kind of let him off, actually. He's the only reason I like Spy Kids 4. No, actually, him and Ricky Gervais as the dog.
To be fair, now you've mentioned that, one other thing I did watch this week, I think I mentioned it to you, was they did a table read.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
the Community Cast did a table read for an episode, which was the episode where Pierce dies, and they're all sitting around a table and kind of going under questioning for a lie detector, and it was brilliant to watch, because watching that ensemble of individuals together again is just special. So many of them, like Alison Brie was just spot on, literally just like, even like she's just still doing her hair twirls and stuff like that, even though they're just kind of doing a table read, they don't need to go, but she did all the nuances. Donald Glover was fantastic. They obviously took the piss out of him for being able to actually do it and not disappear and go off and create fantastic albums and fantastic shows on his own. And what was the special thing is Walton Goggins was not able to do his part in the episode. He was the guest star that week, so the Mandalorian Pedro Pascal filled in for him, and there was just a couple of moments. He does a line at one point, and he ends it with "Yes, man," and then suddenly Dan Harmon's just like DeLorean, and it took me a minute, and I was like, why did he just say DeLorean? And I was like, oh
Mandalorian. Yeah, I got lost there for a minute. I was like, why is he talking about DeLoreans?
But watching Pedro Pascal read it, clearly he had not pre-read the script in advance, because he gets to a point, and I won't give it away too much, because I do hope one day you'll watch Community, but suffice it to say, Pierce Hawthorne has left each of them a jar of something special. And each time Pedro Pascal is supposed to be really sad, he literally bursts into, he can't read it. Like, he fluffs his lines at least a half dozen times, and it's fucking hilarious, because he just can't get the line out, because he didn't expect it. This is a, professional actor, and he's trying to psych himself up so that he can do it properly. So any Community fans out there, I do encourage you to go and get a view.
Oh, good stuff. Okay.
So, should we get to the nitty-gritty of the episode?
So, we start Ip Man 3, 2015. So, where we left off was the British and the boxing fight in the previous film. So, we start Ip Man 3, 1959, still in Hong Kong, still in Kowloon City. And a man walks into the studio and says, do you remember me? You told me to come back when I was a little bit taller. And my first note is, ooh, yay! We're getting the Bruce Lee story for this film. And they go into a fantastic sequence where he's a man smoking a cigarette, I think, and he's and Bruce Lee kicks it out of his fingers, doesn't he? And then so he starts flicking fags up in the air. to the American listeners, cigarettes up in the air. It's a slang term for a cigarette in this country. He starts flicking them up in the air, and Bruce Lee has to kick them out of the air to see how fast he is. That's fantastic. And then he throws water at him right at the end to trick him, and he kicks the water as well. But unfortunately, that sequence then ends, and Bruce Lee walks out.
Well,
So
he just
maybe we're not getting the Bruce Lee.
Well,
story
no,
this time. Never
Ip
mind.
Man here he doesn't necessarily say yes, he doesn't say no. He just basically walks over to the door and leaves it open. Then Bruce Lee kind of goes, "Ugh," and then just kind of trundles off, and that's it. Which is not the Bruce Lee episode.
He only says that. He only says that in the fourth one. He says like, "Oh, I never told you to leave."
Yeah.
Bullshit. I got the same impression.
Yeah, he insinuates. He does insinuate. Come on, you need to leave now. Come
on. Anyway, we cut from that and we meet a little lad called Fong, who is in a fight with Ip Man's son at their school, and and then we meet his dad because the fight gets broken up by the teachers and the parents have to come in to see to get the kids and stuff, and we get a bit with Ip's wife being annoyed with him for not being around again because he's still keeping that up from the previous films. You know, he's focusing on the wrong things. He's not spending enough time with his family necessarily. So, and after we meet Fong, we meet his dad as well, who is we learn is a rickshaw driver, and he fights in sort of unlicensed clubs, fight clubs in the evenings to make a bit of extra cash, and he's obviously very skilled. Now, we get introduced to the owner of the underground club and our main protagonist for this movie, Mr. Mike Tyson.
Yep.
Like, if you want him to play himself, he's all right. Like, I mean, we've voiced our displeasure of the Hangover films before, but at least he's bearable in those movies because you know he's just playing himself, so he's not trying to be anything else. He's just not a very good actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's quite crap, and he sort of brings everything down when he opens his mouth, I feel. But he's the man running the clubs. We learn that Fong's dad actually trained in Wing Chun at the same school as Master Ip. So they're both
I think it's their master, their respective masters related or have some prior relationship. So they've each kind of been taught a style of Wing Chun, which is very, very similar because of the history of their respective teachers. As I recall it, it's been a while since I've watched the third one. I only watched 1 and 4 respectively beforehand.
So yeah, we meet our gang of baddies, and they're the guys running working with Mike to run the fight clubs. We then get into, again, our main sort of plot thrust for this one, which is the school, and the baddies Mike Tyson wants to buy the school. I'm not sure whether I've got the reason why yet, because I don't think we know, but he's trying to buy the school. So he sends baddies in from the fight club to go and try and take the school and set it on fire. Yes.
Well, to go and they go and beat the crap out of the headmaster.
That's
first,
right. They go and try and beat the headmaster up.
Ip Man is there at the time.
So then I get to Ip Man comes to the rescue as they try and force the teacher to sell the school because Tyson wants it, and the baddies work for him. The baddies then chain up the school gates. Master Ip and his students then unblock it, and Ip leaves his students at the school to sort of keep guard of the whole thing while he goes home for the evening. But they come back at night and to set fire to the school. So Ip ends up going back there to fight them off while the school's they're trying to burn it down. And also Fong's dad, the other guy who was trained in Wing Chun, comes along because he's out pulling his rickshaw and he sees what's going on. So he comes to join the fight as well. So yeah, they during this whole fight sequence, we end up with they do drive them off, but I'm fairly sure there is some damage to the school. But I really struggled to figure out whether it was destroyed or not, or what. Or there seemed to be some damage, but not, because they did set fires, so some of it must have been on fire.
Yeah, they kind of they're basically
it's not destroyed when we come back. Yeah, when we go back to it again. But anyway. So yeah, there's a bit of a fight there.
What happens? The guys go to the school, and as you say, Ip Man's guys and his students are there, and they fight off these individuals. Chung also helps. This is the rickshaw driver. That's his name, and so he helps fight off a bunch of these people, not really knowing the intricate details of what's going on. But at this time, it's good because this is the kind of time where Ip and Chung are each kind of watching each other's fighting styles, and Ip's very impressed by him and kind of thanks him for helping out. So Ma, which is the guy who's actually in charge of the bad guy, shall we say, he has a master, because he used to be a martial artist himself. So what they do is they go and take him back to his master. His master's pretty pissed off. They go and meet his master, and the master goes off to see him at a shipyard or something because he's pissed off. He's like, "You were one of my students. How dare you do this?"
Yes, that's right. And they go down to the dockyard. Yep.
And then he kind of smacks him about a bit, and kind of humiliates him because he's like, "You're my student," and humiliates him. And then he goes to stab him, but again, Ip Man saves the day. So Ma, because he's been humiliated and looks a bit ridiculous at this point, goes up to Chung because he knows him from the Fight Club and offers him a big set of money. Basically, just gives him a load of money and says, "Look, I need you to get my old master and basically beat the shit out of him for me because he humiliated me."
Yeah.
And because Chung at this point, he's a bit desperate for money, hence the reason he's doing the fight clubs and stuff in the first place, takes the money and goes and beats the living crap out of his old master.
Yeah. So, yeah, and he explains to Chung that as with all things in Hong Kong, it seems around this time, which I'm sure is the way it was, that the baddies are backed by the British. So, there's no way you're going to be able to touch them. Like the cops can't even touch them, essentially. We then cut to, before we get to see Chung doing the dirty work, we get the sequence with Mrs. Ip.
Yes.
In the hospital. And, yeah. So it's discovered that she has a tumour, but they don't know whether it's cancerous or not at this stage. But, yeah, she's got a tumour. No. That's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote in my note afterwards, I was like, but I'm fairly sure she survived. I'm sure it showed us at the end of the first one that she was alive. Like in the little sequency bit at the end. Clearly I was wrong. So yes, then we get to Mr. Chung, Mr. Fong, doing the, Mr. Chung, Fong. I got his name wrong. I corrected it on the first page, but I haven't corrected it on the second.
It's Fong is his son.
Yes, Fong is his son. His son is Fong Chung, or Chung Fong, and he
Chung
is
Fong. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, he's not, like you say, he's not really given a choice as to whether he wants to do their dirty work or not, because the club will either, because he helped stop the school getting destroyed, he owes the baddies, and if he wants to keep working the fight clubs, he's got to do what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Master. What did you say his name was? I've got Tin.
Yeah, Master Tim.
Master Tin, was that right? Yeah. So yeah, Master Tin gets the shit kicked out of him by Chung, and then the baddies lure Ip to see him in the hospital so that they can attack the school again.
Mm-hmm.
This time, they kidnap some of the children, unless the school is sold. And two of the children who are taken are both Ip's son and Chung's son. So Ip goes back to see the baddies, and the pole is back. So he heads down there with these massive bamboo pole again.
So badass. So badass with this pole.
I fucking
massive
love it.
bamboo pole.
Obviously, it doesn't go well. he has to back down because they realise that his child is one of the ones in the cage. So they've got him over a barrel. So he has to essentially surrender. Chung hears that his son's been kidnapped, so goes to see the baddies to say, "What the hell are you doing? Give me my son back!" And goes and gets his son back because he's working with the baddies. So of course he's allowed to. Of course, Ip sees this because he's there. He's there. Then we get a sort of revisit of the 10-on-1 battle, where they're like, "Oh, I heard you once fought 10 men off in, 10 men off at once." So they get 10 men down to actually fight Ip. So that's cool. And Chung changes his mind and goes back to actually help.
His son kind of persuades him.
Yeah,
he's like, they still have my friends. Like, yeah, thanks for rescuing me, but they're still holding my friends, and they could die. And my friends,
we need to go and help them.
Here's the guilt trip. Come
on. So yes, he goes back to help. And then shit. No, his wife has got 6 months to live. We suddenly cut to. Genuinely, that little sequence, because I think that's the little sequence where she's sitting with Ip on the bed.
Yep.
And he's trying to get out of her what's actually wrong. And it genuinely brought a tear to my eye, that sequence, because I am, like I said last time, at this stage, I'm so invested in this character. I don't want to see bad shit happening to him. It affects me because he is so good. Then we cut back to Frankie, or Mike Tyson's character, and he's told by the British that he needs to stop all the gang shit because otherwise they're not going to be able to protect him anymore. He then, he's not particularly on board with that, so he sends someone who I dub Kung Fu Skrillex to go and get Ip.
Yeah, he's a Muay Thai boxer, I think.
Yeah. If you know anything about the dubstep artist Skrillex from the mid-noughties, if you look at him, that guy is Kung Fu Skrillex. And it makes sense. Okay. People who aren't quite as old as Fluffy, if you know what dubstep is and you know who Skrillex is, you'll get what I mean. That joke will go over wonderfully in a very particular demographic.
Sure, okay, if you say so.
Yeah, over 35s who still wish dubstep was a thing. I really don't. Anyway, dubstep aside, we get this fight sequence with Kung Fu Skrillex,
absolutely fantastic.
Oh, isn't it just? I've particularly made mention of every now and then it cuts to overhead shots as they're fighting through the corridors of like an apartment complex, isn't it?
Well, it starts off in the elevator.
Yeah,
where he's in the elevator with his wife, and then he comes in and he notices it straight away, and it's his defense of her, and he just throws himself in front and blocks everything, and it's just like, the fuck are you doing going near my wife? And that's the bit, like, he's just found out his wife's only got 6 months to live, and you're going to do this shit. Thank you for giving him something to punch at this moment in time, because he needed it, you know?
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, there's some lovely overhead shots that are, short sort of 2 to 3 minute one shots, tracking sequences, but done overhead as we go through the corridors. And I really, really enjoyed that. So off the back of this, obviously it wins because Ip's awesome.
It's Ip.
It doesn't matter how much dubstep you've got behind you, you're still going to get beaten. So then he goes to see Frankie, Mike Tyson, the big boss.
After he's seen Fat Poe, we hadn't mentioned Fat Poe was also back in this one as well. Fatty Poe.
Fatty Poe, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about him, bless him. So yes, he goes to see Tyson to basically say, look, I've had enough of this shit. I want you off my back, essentially. And Tyson wants to see wants to have a fight with him to see whose fist is faster. Which I think it's a stupid question. Ip. Ip's fist is easily faster than Tyson's. It's just Tyson's packs a shitload more of a punch than Ip's probably does, So I thought that was an amusing way of framing it. because I think that question is actually quite simple to solve.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. At this point, it's just like, they come to an agreement. Okay, if you can last 3 minutes against me, then I'll keep my promise. I'll back off, and I'll leave the school, and I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
And this is one of the, it's one of those times when you watch films like this at times, and you think, oh, it's going to go one way, and it's the level of respect in some ways that Tyson has by the end of this.
Yeah,
which is surprising, which is massively surprising.
Yeah, it is.
He comes out swinging, and even Ip at that point is like, "Whoa, hang on a minute, that's pretty devastating." But it's Ip Man at the end of the day. So
every 5 punches from Ip is sort of one of Tyson's punches. But yeah, no, I same thing. It makes for a fantastic sequence, and I felt it did a good job to manage to not feel the same as the boxing match we had in the last film, because it was a very similar idea, but it managed to differentiate itself slightly, because it wasn't in a boxing ring, it wasn't a strict format. I'm not sure how I felt about the CG bit where Mike's punching as quick as he can, and he's punching glass windows out because it's moving so fast.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how I feel about that sequence.
Sure. It was one of the other things I really loved about the end of that sequence was the way Ip holds himself when he walks in. Again, it's one of the things that I've said before. This is why I love Donnie Yen's portrayal of him. The very cool, calm, collected kind of person. You can see a bit of frustration when he's walking in there. He's pissed off, and my Thai boxer is attacking him in front of his wife and all that kind of stuff. It's going to rile him up, and the fact that this is just still ongoing. And after the fight, they've just had a 3-minute, pretty brutal 3-minute fight. No joking aside, that looked pretty brutal. And they have the agreement, and he's just kind of still, breathing. But it's his cool, calm demeanor walking out. He doesn't turn around thinking this guy's going to hit me. It's, again, like I say, it's that demeanor, that level of respect that he seems to instill in a lot of fighters that he faces.
Yeah,
and that's one of the cool things.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, at this point, I kind of got confused because I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I'd made 2.5 pages worth of notes because I thought Tyson versus Ip was my main boss fight.
That's why I liked it. It flipped it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So then my note is, okay, maybe Chong versus Ip is the Act 3 fight then. And then, of course, we get the montage of Chong's rise to fame. So he opens a school teaching Wing Chun. He says that Ip's version of Wing Chun is not right. It's an offshoot, and his is the more traditional version of it, or something. I think.
Yeah,
I
basically,
think that's the way it
crowned
is,
himself the Grandmaster of Wing Chun.
Exactly. And I then said, my note afterwards is, "Oh crap! I should have seen that." Actually, they teased that during their second ever meeting of the characters. They propose a fight for the title of Grandmaster.
Yeah.
And I just totally missed it, but it's back in their second ever meeting outside the school. Bruce Lee comes back briefly again, because at this point, what's happening while we've had the montage of Chung's rise to fame, that's interspersed with a montage of Ip and his wife traveling, essentially enjoying the last 6 months that they have together before she passes away. And again, there's some beautiful sequences there of them doing stuff, and they go to a school to learn how to dance, and Bruce Lee happens to be in that very same school. So they get to meet again and chat, and actually, isn't that the point where he says, I didn't tell you to leave, or something like that?
Something like that.
Because that's their first meeting since he walks out the door at the beginning of the film. So yeah, during this time of it traveling around, Chung has risen to fame for his Wing Chun fighting style and his martial arts school back in Kowloon, and has challenged Ip to this fight officially through all the official channels on a particular day at a particular time to fight for the title of Grandmaster of Wing Chun. However, Ip doesn't know, because again, this is 1959. We don't have WhatsApp.
Well, no, he does know. He reads
no
it.
Facebook to say.
I'm sure he reads it in the paper.
He does read it, but he reads it back. I know it's.
He doesn't. He's not. He reads it and he pays no attention to it, because at this moment his wife is his focus. Wing Sing is his focus. He doesn't care about fighting at the moment. All he cares about is her and spending as much time as he can with her. And that's it. Like you said, the dancing and things like that. Some of the most special moments in the Ip Man series, I find, is between Ip and his wife, because she does ground him in
absolutely.
elements, reminds him of his obligations to his family and things like that. And
Tells him things he doesn't want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got his extended family with his students and stuff like that. And she respects his students and X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, she's like, this is my husband. And, you know, but she cares for him equally as much as he cares for her, and everything. Those scenes with their dancing and stuff like that, he's completely out of his element. Like he's a martial artist, not a dancer, but that's what she wants to do, and he just wholeheartedly embraces it. And it's just some of the loveliest scenes in these.
It is. I found it beautiful, but the creeping sadness was just there the whole time, because it is harsh, man. Because then we end up there during their travels. She faints and ends up in hospital, and Ip stays with her at the hospital. And she's released, and they return back to Kowloon, and he finally returns and goes to the fight with Chung.
She arranges it.
She arranges it, does she?
She arranges the fight.
Right.
So
okay, that's the bit I missed, because I was like, I don't understand why he's gone back, because as you say, he's been ignoring it the whole time. And I don't get why he goes back. And I don't like the end fight, because I'm just sat there the whole time thinking, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you fighting this man? You should be out there with your fucking wife. And she's sat outside like the doting wife she is, with her hands crossed, while you're fucking fighting this douchebag who's just being a douchebag.
She, the thing is that although she is enjoying the time that Ip is spending with her, she's cherishing that. She also isn't necessarily happy about the decision that he's made in not going to the fight, because this is the man that she loves, and she understands what everything means to him with regard to his martial arts and stuff like that. And basically, if she hadn't have been ill and he'd have been free, he would have been in that fight, and she knows he would have won. It's Ip Man, for Christ's sake. It's her husband. She knows this, so she has a conversation with Chung and basically arranges another match for Ip, kind of confessing he's been looking after me, and Chung's kind of taken aback because he didn't realize. He just thought, oh, okay, he's just being a coward. Now I understand the significance of why. So she then accompanies Ip to the fight because she's arranged this. She's allowing him, because that's the thing. It's she kind of talks about the wooden dummy and the clickety clack of the wooden dummy when he's practicing.
Oh no, don't, because that's horrible. That's the bit right at the end to her. Where she just asks him to just practice, just so she can hear the
clickety clack,
the clonking noises. No, I hate that bit.
So this is why we lead to this match, and like you said, this is a truly intense fight.
Because they go through, I think they both start with poles, then they go on to sort of knives, two big cleavers each, and then just into your standard fist fight, or your martial arts kung fu fist fight. Anyway,
but it's the fact that each of them is not holding back. They're going nose holes barred on this kind of thing. Like you say, with weapons, they're not aiming to disarm. They're aiming for kills at the same time. It's pretty brutal. But it's how it finishes as well, and that's one of the. It's the move which is Bruce Lee obviously made famous even more so, but the 1-inch punch, and he just floors him with a 1-inch punch, and it's just Chung's just kind of expression like, how did he do that? And
So that's the end of the film. 1960, we're told that Mrs. Ip died of cancer. And I don't think we get too much of what happened afterwards this time. Clearly, at this point, they knew they were going to do another one. Finally.
Well, they didn't. They didn't actually. 4 was quite a feat
I think you
to get
at the beginning,
Donnie Yen to come back for that.
Yeah. But my last note on that one is that number 4 must give me my Bruce Lee story. I want Bruce Lee's training. Any final thoughts on 3?
Like I said, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. There are some truly amazing fight sequences in there. Like we said, from 1 and 2, it kind of ramps up that level of fighting. With the bamboo pole, as you said in the scene where they goes to the shipyard, dockyard, whatever it is, and just grabs a pole to go and rescue it, and it's just brilliant. The final fight between the two of them, the fight between him and Tyson as well. Even that, you kind of go, yeah, it's 3 minutes, but it's a different kind of fighting style. I loved the actress who played Wing Sing. I thought she was fantastic. She really played well off of Donnie Yen, and I think they did really well together. So to get to the end, and like you say, your heartstrings were being tugged on as he was finally throwing those punches at the wooden dummy. That sold it for me.
So yeah, I really started to struggle at that stage because I just found it so bleak and so sad all the way through. So we start Ip Man 4 from 2019 in 1964, and we start at a karate tournament in San Francisco, and Bruce Lee is announced as being in the fight that we're watching, and we see Ip enter and take a seat. Then it cuts to what turns out to be prior to this, but it doesn't really make it clear. There's no sort of 2 weeks earlier, 3 weeks earlier, whatever. It just cuts, and you figure out in previous the end that's what it is. But anyway, we cut, and we cut to a hospital, and this time, Ip Man's being told he's got cancer too.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, man, Jesus! Right, so then we cut to Ip Man's studio. A student of Bruce Lee turns up. He's Afro Samurai. Because he looked exactly like what I imagine Afro Samurai would look like in real life. So he turns up and wants to give Ip a ticket to the tournament in San Francisco that we started the film in. And Ip says no, that he doesn't want to go. And there's a little fight sequence there. Then we see that Ip's son, who's obviously grown up a little bit now, is getting expelled from school for fighting, and it's happening quite a lot. They're clearly struggling again for sort of money. His son and his relationship is really bad. And my next note is, this film had better not end with Ip's death, because it is bleak as hell so far. So we then follow Ip, and he takes his plane off to San Francisco, leaves his son behind with
Fatty Pie.
Uncle. It's him again, isn't it?
Fatty Pie. Yeah.
It's Uncle Fatty. He says he'll ring every day to talk to his son, but his son says he won't answer because he's really not happy with him. But Ip is going to San Francisco to see this Bruce Lee tournament because he's got the ticket and everything, but also he's going to try and find an American school to send his son to, so that he has the opportunity at a better education and therefore a better life, he hopes. So when he gets to San Francisco, he discovers that his student Bruce Lee is not well liked among the traditional martial arts school folks. Again, it's there's elements of this one that are very similar to the other ones. So yeah, it's the same as the heads of the Kowloon Chinese martial arts group.
This is the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association.
Yeah, that's it. So yes, it's essentially the bunch of martial arts school, and they run out of Chinatown in San Francisco, and they will only teach martial arts to Chinese people, whereas Bruce Lee is happy to teach anyone. And even at this stage has written a book explaining martial arts to people or the masses, and sort of the some of the mythos behind it and how to do it, and things that you could think about pro wrestling in the same way that people trying to protect kayfabe and protect it from those. They were trying to protect the traditional elements of it and keep it as a traditional Chinese thing, whereas Bruce Lee wants to expand it and give it to the masses. So it turns out Ip discovers he needs a letter or a reference from this Chinese benevolent fund, the head of that organization, to get his son into a school in San Francisco. But the bloke doesn't want to give him that reference because he doesn't agree with Bruce Lee's stuff, and Master Ip won't condone Bruce Lee's actions either. There's quite a cool little... I mean, again, I wish there was slightly more kung fu in this one at the beginning. I think it's a bit kung fu light at the beginning of this film. But we get what is quite a cool tense sequence with the glass Lazy Susan that they're pushing around the table. And he keeps pushing it back one to the other, and then they're pushing against each other, and it cracks down the middle and stuff. That's quite a cool little sequence. But
yeah, it was reminiscent.
I can't help but wishing I had more, actual kung fu.
It was reminiscent of when he meets the masters in Ip Man 2.
Yeah, exactly, with the table and the spinning table and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yes, he needs a place, but they're pissed off at him because the apprentice is going against their wishes. And then I've put keeping up. Are we keeping up so far? Okay. And then hoping for a fight soon. So we catch up to where we started the film at the tournament. We get a tiny little bit of Bruce Lee's exhibitionist fighting. I think he does the 1-inch punch on someone.
Yes.
And does a couple of other things. Then, finally, we get a nice big fight with Bruce Lee against a load of random Yanks outside a bar or something, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic fight when it got going. The bigger Yank who had the nunchucks and stuff at the end was brilliant. And I'd forgotten about Bruce Lee's. I don't know. I've written squeals, but he does make very specific noises. And it's interesting with these films that Ip Man has never been a big noisemaker. I've never noticed. Whereas Bruce Lee's style was always like, a lot of the high-pitched sort of squeals as he's doing the moves and stuff. But yeah, that was quite cool. I enjoyed that. Any notes on that one?
No, I mean, like you say, it's just brilliant. I mean, it is. He does a very, very convincing, Bruce Lee, fighting style.
I've never come across that actor. Sorry, I meant to say that. Yeah, I thought he was really good as a Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I mean, there've been good many, other actors in the past that have done it. But yeah, like you say,
Donnie Yen.
Even Donnie Yen, yes.
I think, what's that called? It's the sequel to Fist of Fury, isn't it? They did a sequel to it where he plays the Bruce Lee role. Legend of Fury or something like that?
Something along those lines.
But it's Donnie Yen playing the same role as Bruce Lee played in Fist of Fury.
Yeah. So yeah, it's an absolutely enjoyable fighting sequence, and again, like you say, there's not been. I don't think there's as much level of fighting style as there had been in the previous three, if that makes sense. We obviously get some fighting because that's part and parcel of this, and especially more towards the latter end of the film. But yeah, some of those fight sequences which we had in, say, the beginning of 2 and 3 is kind of not as placed here. Donnie Yen doesn't seem to do as much, but at the same time, he's getting a little bit older. His stunt work, he's got to be a bit more careful, probably. Whereas this guy, again, this is kind of perhaps an introduction for the guy who plays Bruce Lee. Maybe they'll go on and use that guy to do other films. Who's to say? But it was a good. Yeah, he was very, very impassioned where he was.
So then, at this point, I was getting slightly distracted because we'd had a little side thread story of the head of the Chinese Benevolent Association's daughter, Yona. We'd sort of seen her at high school a couple of times and getting bullied by the high school bitch, who's clearly a massive racist.
Yeah.
And cue the daughter getting a beating and some abuse. Ip Man happens to be coming past, sees what's going on. Okay, right, makes sense now because Ip Man's going to save her.
Yeah.
So he saves her and escorts her home.
But not before the stupid American girl accidentally slashes her face with a pair of scissors that she was trying to attack Yona with.
Quite.
And that becomes important.
Yeah. So the Yank high school bitch goes home and says that she was attacked because she's got the slash on her cheek. Mum brings Dad to come home from business trip. I only mention this because I'm sure that will turn out to be an affair. Always is, isn't it? It's always, you're always on these business trips. Come back from this business. Always turns out to be a fucking affair. So I made a note of that. And yeah, the chairman's daughter, Yona, is being escorted home by Ip. Not enough kung fu sequences. We were 45 minutes in at this stage, and I've had one good kung fu sequence that lasted for about 5 minutes, and was that Bruce Lee one. However, the second after I write that, the chairman then challenges, because obviously Ip walks the daughter home, so he meets the chairman again, and he challenges Ip to a match for his son's recommendation letter for the school. It's a decent fight. I have noted that the wire work is getting a little more frequent, and I do think they're starting to crank the cameras a little bit on the speed front. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's 2019. Donnie Yen is not... He's 10 years older than he was when he did the first one. He's 15 years older than he was when he was doing his sort of peak, really early Chinese stuff in the mid-noughties. You know, he is not a young man anymore. So I understand they have to do it. It's just a shame because it means that we're reaching that point. However, in terms of the film, kind of works because he's getting old. So it sort of works in all ways. The character's getting old. The actor's getting old. Let's crank the cameras a little bit. It ends in a draw because an earthquake stops them. And Ip sort of makes the point to him that instead of being at odds with each other, and arguing about whether Bruce Lee should be allowing Americans to practice martial arts, perhaps they should, you know, all be working together to try and stop the abhorrent racism towards their culture in San Francisco. So, like I say, 45 minutes in. Now, we cut to some random fucking military base.
Yep.
And it's because one of Bruce Lee's students is a Marine who we have mentioned before.
Yeah, we'd established this previously. Yeah,
and the Marines have some sort of karate training in their hand-to-hand combat stuff. And this Marine wants to add Wing Chun to it because he thinks it's, you know, obviously a very good fighting style, and he thinks it will be really good for them. So he wants to bring it up. So of course he brings it up to Drill Sergeant, who, as I mentioned in part 1 of the Ip Man episode, is your cliche impression of Ali Ermey from Full Metal Jacket. So he says, right, I'm going to fight you. Oh, does he fight his lackey to start with, actually? Does he fight the second in command dude? I think he does.
No, he's the
Marine fights his sort of main...
the actual instructor.
Yeah,
the actual karate instructor. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and the one who I consider to be the drill sergeant's sort of right hand man.
Yeah.
He loses a fight to him. And the Wing Chun training dummy that he'd bought into the base for them to use gets burnt because, you know,
sacrilege against
damn. This next bit just starts with Ip sat alone, just coughing really badly because he's got throat cancer. It's just so sad.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Yona, the Chinese benevolent doodah's daughter, goes to see Ip and has the recommendation letter for him. But then it turns out that she's totally forged it. I mean, I suppose we should have said at this point, she does not get on well with her dad because her dad is a very authoritarian, typical, you know, what you would consider to be a stereotypical Chinese father of that stage, or, you know, certainly Eastern, the representations we've seen anyway, of that, you know, women's place. And again, it's, you know, all of the time, so it's fair enough. It's the way things were back then. But yeah, he is very much of that ilk. So they don't get on well. She is incredibly rebellious. She tries to, you know, basically do things to piss him off just because she wants to piss him off because he's an arsehole. This sequence with Jonah and Ip talking is fantastic. I mean, the writing regardless of how I feel about how much kung fu I've had so far in this film, the writing is just so good because they make the parallel. Even though Ip isn't half as bad as Yona's dad, he's not as much of a dickhead. In his own way, he is restricting his son in the same way that the Chinese bloke is restricting Yona.
Yep.
What's that guy's name? I haven't got his name, and I'm hating calling him the Chinese guy. Do you make a note of it? I haven't got it.
What the
head of the Benevolent Association?
Oh, let me check my notes here. Wan,
right? Thank you. So yes, through Yona talking to Ip about her dad Wan and the way he treats her and makes her feel, he just dawns on him as she's talking that it's exactly that he is causing the same thing for his son, even though he isn't half as bad.
He's not been honest with him.
No, exactly.
He's not told him what's going on.
Exactly. He hasn't told him that he's got cancer and told him that he's dying. So we then, so I thought that was a cracking little sequence there, making that parallel. Yeah. We then cut back to the Marine, who's called Hartman, and he's decided to go over the drill sergeant's head to try and get Chinese martial arts Wing Chun added to the Marine training catalogue. The Marines karate trainer says that he'll sort them out. That's right, because they is it a fight is arranged?
So what happens there is the commanding officer basically says, he's interested, and he wants them to go to the Mid-Autumn Festival, which is what Chinese, the Chinatown is getting prepared for. Yeah. So he's instructed them to go and film so that he can see some actual evidence of how it's fighting.
That's right.
Whereas then, Hartman is really enthusiastic, but then you've got the douchebag drill instructor who then tells his karate instructor, go to the festival, but beat the shit out of everybody there.
Yeah, that's right. At the same time as this, we see that the high school bitch's dad has gotten back from his quote-unquote business trip and has said that he'll sort Yona and Wan out. But we don't know what he does at this stage. I don't think. It was Washington is mentioned, but we're not quite sure what his job is.
Immigration of some description, I think.
Yeah, I know. It comes in a minute.
Oh, okay.
I was just making that point, that at this point, we don't actually know what his job is, but we know it's something Washington-based.
Yeah, something politically based, yeah.
So then we go to the big Chinatown festival, like you say, the carnival thing. And they're doing Chinese martial arts displays, and the American karate guys crash the party, challenge them to fights, but just, he ends up beating 2 or 3 masters, I think it is, quite easily.
He's not very respectful, put it that way.
I did like the fact that the female master is the one who actually gives him the best fight and pushes him the furthest.
Again, this is
that.
It's one of the things, strangely enough, but I understand why, because, way back when, women, the idea of women fighting, in the earlier films was less plausible. I think as the generations move on and things like that, it is. But yes, it was nice to see a female kung fu martial artist master.
And like I say, she took him to a competitive
thing
and, was giving him what for.
Yeah, she gave him the closest fight at that point.
So we then see that that Wan gets taken away by immigration services, as you say, who it turns out the high school bitch's dad works for. So Ip shows up at the festival, but I'm worried. I'm fairly sure he's still injured because he injured his arm in the gate when he was rescuing Yona, and it plays on him at another point before this, because or is it during this fight he ends up with one arm?
He does.
No, it's in the fight against Wan. It's in the fight against Wan. He ends up Wan aggravates that injury,
and he puts his arm
blocked at the gate. And he puts that arm behind his back, doesn't he? And just one arm blocks him and finishes him off. So yeah, and he's also got the cancer as well. So I was pretty worried about that fight, but thankfully it wins. So that's good. So yeah, Ip sort of wins the festival, the confrontation at the festival. The karate guys are beaten, and off they go. So we cut back to Chairman Wan, and he's being told by the immigration people that they're going to shut down the Chinese Benevolent Fund, and they're going to arrest pretty much everyone who's Chinese in that area. We then move to Drill Sergeant, and Sarge is not happy with his karate dude teacher, and he says he'll have to take out the Chinese Kung Fu his own way. And this is the first hint that we get that actually Sarge knows Kung Fu. Because when he said that, I was like, what are you going to do? Shoot him? I don't. We haven't seen any hint that you actually know any Kung Fu so far. So fair enough. Sarge knows Kung Fu. He goes to the CBA and beats the holy fuck out of every master who's at the Chinese Benevolent Association. The sergeant then goes to the immigration services because he wants the chairman. That's who he's after. And so he goes to the immigration services to get the chairman, and just takes the chairman away from the immigration services to go and, as a military matter, basically. So it's at this point that sort of the chairman has his Chairman Wan has his sort of epiphany, his realization moment that his daughter's right, and perhaps instead of bowing to these people and cowing down to their wishes, they should be uniting and standing up to the racism and the persecution that they're facing in their community. So the chairman decides that he's going to fight Sarge. There's then an interesting sequence at Bruce Lee's place, who Ip Man is with at this point. And they have quite an interesting discussion around equality, or rather the lack thereof in these times for them. I found that quite an interesting little detail that they decided to put in there, just discussing around equality and racism and that sort of thing. It made a very interesting point.
Yeah, because at this point, Bruce Lee's student has tipped off the association that they're going to be raided, and it gives them a time to kind of clear out so they don't all get arrested. Obviously, one has been arrested, but the rest of them managed to kind of elude capture. And it's Bruce Lee who is providing refuge for all of the association and its various masters and stuff like that. Even though they've got a massive grudge against him, they don't believe in the way that he's doing things. And yeah, they're butted heads and things like that. But he's not about to let these guys, be arrested for something that he
and
knows.
The Chinese masters are starting to come round to the thought of, actually, we should be working together.
Yes,
for
precisely.
a common goal for our people, rather than arguing about who's right or wrong about their approach to fucking, how to teach martial arts. Right. At this point, Hartman, who is the Marine, rings Bruce Lee to let him know that the chairman has had the shit kicked out of him. And at this point, with 20 minutes to go, I am really hoping that I'm going to get a fucking fight here. So I'm hoping for Ip versus Sarge. And then, Jesus, we then, before I even get there, we get we cut to Jin, Jin, his son, finally taking the call from Ip. And they have the discussion about he's got cancer. And Ip essentially just makes things right with him at that stage. But God almighty, like you say, it's such a... it's so harsh.
It's how he tells, because it's... it's Fatty Poe that answers the phone, and he finally, he's like, I have cancer, and I want to speak to my son, and Fatty's like, answer the phone.
Yeah.
He's just like, no. He's like, answer the phone. No. He just picks him up, and Rusty's like, your dad has got fucking cancer, and he's across the other side of the world trying to find a place for you to live so that he knows that you're safe. Speak to him on the fucking phone, and he picks it up, and he's just like, Dad, and then it's that reconciliation between father and son,
exactly,
which lovely. Is it's very, very poignant and very, very meaningful for this.
So yeah, then we get the we then head into our fight. So for some reason they're going to let Ip wander around on a military base.
Yeah, it was a bit weird.
Totally unsupervised, just for the heck of it. You know, some staff sergeant said so it's fine. Let's do that.
Yep.
And we get into the fight between Sarge and Ip. I mean, it's all right. I just, again, this one, I am constantly aware of the sadness that I'm going to have to return to as soon as this is over, whatever joy it may bring me during the fight to see him win. And obviously it's classic booking. You beat the crap out of the good guy, the baby face, and just when it looks like he's down and out, he gets up and makes the fiery comeback.
Mm-hmm.
It's classic. I did like the use of the Ip Man theme as sort of a rousing crescendo rising.
It was one of the things that I hadn't brought up really at all. It was one of the last things I was ever going to talk about in terms of the Ip Man series. But yeah, you've nailed it on the head. The Ip Man theme.
I love the Ip Man theme.
Is wonderful, and shouting out to our classic editor. Hope he's doing well, Wayne. I hope you do pop that. Hopefully, at the end of this.
If you could play us out with the Ip Man theme.
You can play us out with the Ip Man theme, just so that everybody can hear it. For those who don't know it, it's a beautiful piece of music, and every time you hear it, it's just I'm not going to go there.
We should be able to do that as well, because this one isn't going on YouTube, so we won't get copyright struck.
Okay. Well, I'm not doing the full thing, but I'm just a snippet.
But you want a good bit.
Just a good bit.
To play us out for 30 seconds. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, unsurprisingly, Ip wins.
Again, though, as you'd said, he'd injured his arm.
Yeah.
And his injury is still playing up there.
It's the worst he's ever looked in a fight. That's for goddamn sure, and it's the most I've ever thought he was going to lose, even though he isn't. But and after this, he gets his letter for his son to say that he can come. The Chairman Wan lets him have the letter, but he decides that the grass isn't really greener, is the exact words he says to Chairman Wan, and he decides to head home. He agrees to teach his son Wing Chun, and as I think we discussed in the last episode, there's the bit right at the end where his son's doing the Wing Chun dummy doll. And
he's recording Ip.
But the son's trying to do it, isn't he? And he goes, "Stop! I'll show you once," and record it. Mm-hmm. And then he goes through the sequence while his son records it. And you said that last time that's sort of the only footage that really exists of him around.
It's out there on YouTube. But again, if you've enjoyed listening to what we've been talking about Ip, then I encourage you to go and watch it. It's wonderful. I've watched it several times, and you're just watching this master. At his craft.
And then we end there. In titles, we're told 1972, Ip Man died at the age of 79, which again brought a final tear to my eye to bring this film to a close.
And again, you've got, as you say, Bruce Lee paying his respects. It's so harsh to think that master and apprentice in the respect of Bruce Lee that Bruce Lee would die only a few short years later. Tragic that two absolute masters of Wing Chun were lost at that point. But it was just fantastic. I'm not going to go and say it was the best of the films. It wasn't. It was necessary, perhaps not, but it was also nice to bookend that story, to actually give a finality to Ip Man, and to show that his legacy did lead on.
Yes, absolutely.
To as we say, as the film details at the end, his son records it. His son went on and became a Wing Chun master in of his own right, and he obviously had students, and they have subsequently had students. So that has carried on. Bruce Lee brought it across to America, did the same. Had many students that taught it after, and even to this day, there's the Chinese martial arts got introduced into the Marines as well, which is,
Yeah.
You hear about all the different fighting styles, Krav Maga and things like that. And yeah, of course, you would expect Wing Chun, looking at this, to be included in that as well.
But yeah, I thought it was fab. Did his sons have anything to do with the films? Creative consultants or anything like that? Or
I believe that, yes, they did have some small level of involvement, but I think it was, from what I understand, I think Donnie Yen may have been instrumental in that, because again, when you're portraying somebody like Ip Man, I think you build up a bit of a rapport perhaps with his family. So as I've said before, the chronology and the exact details of his personal life, his marriages, his children, his drug addictions and things like that, hasn't widely been done in these films. These are a lot more of a commercial success. And you could not sell a lot of that,
it's maybe glossing over some things, but then again,
all biopics
you can't
in that
argue
respect
that The Greatest Showman didn't gloss over a few things about Mr. P.T. Barnum, can you?
Well, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman, so I couldn't really.
Oh well,
say.
The Greatest Showman is a massively successful, wildly popular, feel-good hit about a musical hit about a man who ran a colorful a show with a colorful collection of people. No, he was a very single-minded businessman who cheated on his wife, who traveled America cheating on his wife while he left his wife and children at home, and essentially, profited from a freak show. And didn't treat the people very well, as far as the information that I've read. However,
musicals ain't my thing.
However, it is Hollywood's want to gloss over some things, and I'm not saying Hollywood is the only place. Like we say, clearly some details have been glossed over for the sake of the story, and it happens. It's something we have to deal with. Briefly, we can look at Master Z, Ip Man Legacy.
Yeah, I think we touched upon it.
Was this year, I believe, 2020. I got to be honest, I struggled quite a lot, but
it was. I think it was 2018, but we didn't get it until.
Right.
I think it was.
It was only new to Netflix in the last few weeks.
Yeah. No, it had been out it had been out previously in 2018. I think it was released at the end of 2018.
So this follows Master Z, even though that's not his name. Is Master Chung, the fellow who mastered Wing Chun and then challenged Ip Man to a fight at the end of 3. If you remember, I was shouting not so long ago about him being a massive fucking douchebag, because he's a massive fucking douchebag. Hence, problem 1 with this film, I don't like the main guy. The last time I saw the main guy, I thought he was a fucking asshole, because he was making Ip Man fight him when he should have been spending time with his dying wife. So regardless of whether the wife arranged the fight or not, that guy is a bad guy in my head. I don't like him. He was the end boss of that movie. I don't understand why they would base a film around one of the bad guys and try and make him a goodie, because they do nothing to make him a goodie either.
Well, I mean, in 3 there was that sympathetic nature that this is a guy who was doing the underground fight clubs because he wanted a bit of notoriety.
Yes, they did that to start with.
And he got that, and he didn't, like I say, he didn't know about Ip Man's wife and the fact that she was dying. Granted. Let me finish. You get like this. This is what happens. Do we need to go over the Jar Jar theory again? No. No. There you go. Darth Jar Jar, everyone, it's a real thing. He's not. He can't. Just to let everybody at home know, we are video sharing at the moment. He can't even look at me.
I'm just waiting
because I mentioned the Darth Jar Jar. No, like I say, he didn't know. He was sympathetic characters by the end. All of these people through all of these films, their whole thing was they want to be the best martial artists and things like that. They don't always necessarily go through it the right way, but at the end of that one, you do get the sense that there was mutual respect between the two of them. The fact that he tears down his thing and he's like, yep, not the Grandmaster. He accepts that. So I think, cut him a bit of slack, just a little bit.
I disagree, but fair enough. It's
All
my interpretation of the character is not what you've just said. That isn't how I left 3 thinking about that character. I hated that character, and I wanted that character to I wanted that character to get comeuppance. I don't feel that Ip Man got enough over him in the end for all the pain that he put him through, for all the difficulty he put him through.
But the start of this one, do you not kind of think, from somebody who went to the notoriety, being the Grand Master, having everything around him, you know, having a building and all this, and he's not really doing very well. He's kind of working in a grocery store now.
Which is another problem, because I don't really understand how that's happened. There's no real explanation of how we've ended up there, but
maybe he didn't like the fact that he'd become the Grand Master and it all went to his head. You know?
Maybe, I don't know. It's not as if it explained.
So yeah, this one kind of, you know, covers Master Zed. I say Master Zed because I hate saying Z. I know it's Z, but it's Zed. You know.
You're right. We're English. It should be Zed.
Yeah. So yeah, this kind of covers his story. You know, it's not anywhere near a scratch on any of the Ip Man films. There are some very nice fight scenes in here. Don't get me wrong. There are still some very, very nice fight scenes in here. The story itself doesn't necessarily hold up, I don't think. It kind of taking elements from the other Ip Man films. We've got a foreign businessman who owns a restaurant, who's kind of doing all the shady shit around town, and that's
Mike Tyson in the second one.
Yeah, third one. So I mean, yeah, but you can't tell me that you're not happy about who's in it. Come on.
All right. I like Batista, but I didn't want what was coming, because what was going to come then was going to be a martial artist versus a wrestler, which means loads of wire work so that Batista can throw him over his head and he can fly 3 miles and hit a wall. It means
there was a bit
Batista doing a Batista bomb.
That was
means small, you know, basically
he turned it into a Hurricane Rana. You got to be
artist. Yeah. It means a martial artist doing a wrestling match, and I don't want that. What I like about these films, I mean, again, I will come to a point in a minute, and we'll just. I want to know if you could pick a favorite fight, but mine is my favorite ones are the purest form of it. I want 2 martial artists who are the master of their craft. I want no wire work if we can get away with it, and I want it to look real, and I know that Donnie Yen is capable of that, as is illustrated through all of the films. And yes, all right, they might crank the camera up towards the end, and yes, they use some wire work at times to make things look more impressive, because as you've said, there is always that element of doubling up. You've got to, you know, this one's got to be more impressive than the last one, and so on and so forth. So I get that. I knew from the start this film wasn't what I wanted, and wasn't going to be anything that I wanted, because I thought, when you've taken the person I hate the most from any of the films, the character I hate the most, and you've made him the good guy, and then you've made one of my favorite currently working actors, just for pure shits and giggles, the bad guy. I actually want Batista to win here. I want him to fucking win.
That was the thing. Like, he starts off, when you first see him, like, as a rather polite individual. Like, they turn up to the restaurant and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're closed at the moment." Kind of, and he's very he's a nice, upstanding individual. As soon as he came in, I was like, Dave, you're going to be the bastard of this film, aren't you?
You're going to be the bad.
Anyway, you know, but I also love the fact that Batista isn't afraid, unlike, you know, other wrestling actors who've come out of wrestling. He's not afraid to stretch his wings and do things like this. He's done. It was a kickboxer as well. I think he did as well.
Yeah,
I know that he's done some MMA. But the fact that this is not a scratch on any of the Ip Man films. I believe that they are going to be doing a subsequent sequel to this. I don't think it did commercially successful. I don't think even home or abroad for where the film was made. I don't think it was a massive hit. I think it's just one of these ones where it'll appear on Netflix and I'll watch it and go, okay, that's nice, but it's not Ip Man.
Yeah, it's like Michelle Yeoh was in it, and I don't really see what she brought to it, to be honest. I don't dislike her. I think she's a good actress, but I just don't really see what she was there to do.
The thing for me is, aside from a couple of like I say, there are a couple of good fight sequences in it. Nothing, again, not a scratch on the other ones. Okay, yeah, seeing Batista give a Batista bomb to him, I can't help but I was happy about that.
That classic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, as a wrestling fan, but they don't always do it.
The Rock in the first few films was always rock bottom.
If you look at Drax or something like that, he's never in any of his Marvel films ever pulled out any of that. So I'm impressed by that.
Yeah, not in any of the ones that actually matter.
Yeah,
that aren't interested in him being a wrestler, that are interested in him being an actor. But any of them that involve fight sequences, I think back to bloody Blade Trinity. I'm damn sure Triple H does a pedigree on someone.
Pretty sure he does.
Even though that move is the most ridiculous thing to set up in the world if you were in a real fight.
Yeah.
But there you go.
I think the thing about this is, for me, again, I'd watched it a little while ago. I didn't decide to rewatch it in preparation for our discussion, but it was also very forgettable, if that makes sense.
That's it.
It didn't. It was, again, okay, struggle. Okay, he's separated from his son, reunites with his son, sits down, has a nice meal at the end. But again, there wasn't, like you. I didn't feel the connection with this character. I still empathise with him from the last one because he's obviously taken a bit of a downside. But I loved it, man. I loved his interactions with his kids, his wife, other individuals, how he holds himself, his posture, his demeanour. The whole thing about it, man, is what sold me on it in the first place. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And as we've said multiple times over both of these episodes, a lot of that boils down to Donnie Yen. And his facials, the way he carries himself when being the character, it all just adds together to make it all fabulous. So, yes. I think I've been thinking about this since the last episode because I did think I was going to try and pick. I think my favourite fight is, I can't choose because I like them both for different reasons, but it's either the 10-on-1 fight from the first film or the end boss fight with General Mura. And again, the reason the 10-on-1 fight is an amazing fight to watch on every level because of the technicality of the choreography.
I'm really torn in the same way. Is it a one-on-one actual equal match that I want?
That's it.
Or is it the brutality of that literally made me go,
yeah.
What the fuck? So again, for those
for audio listeners, he did sit forward on his
I literally just sat up as I'm sat there. You know, it made me sit up and go, shit. Don't get me wrong. The first fight in the first film, when they're in the house and they're just doing it, and that's brilliant. And the second fight, it's all cool. It builds up, but this is the first one that made me sit up in my seat and go, holy fucking shitballs. Yeah, so I am going to say the 10-on-1. It shouldn't be because it should be a one-on-one fight, but that's the one that made me sit up and go, Christ almighty, this is good.
I think I'd probably agree because, like I say, I just think overall it's the more impressive feat to pull off because of the amount of choreography involved. I mean, it's still difficult to choreograph 2 fighters, but at least you've only got 2. This was 11 people all having to hit their positions and run in and do this and do that and, hit their marks and stuff and keep it looking genuine again. But yeah, I mentioned the General Mura fight because that is what I like from that, not to say that I don't like fights with wire work and stuff, although then again, I'm not a huge fan of the old Crouching Tiger stuff because that was just a bit too far for my liking. But, that's what I want really. If I can get that, I want a damn good fight like that. Do me other fights as well if you want to in different ways, but just give me one pure striking contest. Just 2 guys at the top of their thing, leave the wire work at home, and just let them have a damn good fucking fight. That is what I love about this style of film, and that's what I'm, generally what I'm looking for from them. Like I said, it doesn't mean that I don't like other things, but that's my favourite, if you like. Okay then. Have you got any final thoughts for us today then?
No, as I say, it's been enjoyable to revisit some of the Ip Man films and watch a couple. I'm glad that you finally got round to watching them and that we've been able to discuss it. Look, I say a lot of what we talk about on the pods, and again, as we've said before, is all subjective. You may agree with us, you may not. We don't always necessarily agree with each other. Yeah, I believe in the Jar Jar Binks Darth Sidious, theory. But
I'm not going to let you trigger me on that shit. No. There are different ones that we all like. There are other films on Netflix. The Grandmaster, I'd encourage you to watch that again. Part of the Ip Man series. Again, there are plenty of other films that detail different aspects of his life if you're at all interested. But again, it's just really enjoyable to watch ones like this. If you've not watched Ip Man, I'd encourage you. Even if just go and watch the first one. I sat down and watched the first one with my mum. Which was not something I'd ever expect. My mum came out and was like, I really enjoyed that. I know it was a bit fighty, not really my thing, but the story was really good. And so the fact that I sat there with my mum and watched it, and she really enjoyed it, I was quite impressed by that a while back. Is that why she rang you earlier then? Did she want to get on the podcast? Was she ringing to get her opinion on it? No,
she loves to interrupt us on our
I don't know why I've just
podcast.
mentioned that, guys, because obviously to audio listeners, I'm going to cut the bit where Fluffy's mum rings him 9 minutes into our recording. But it happens.
It happens
and I've
twice.
just referenced it. Yeah. So now I need to explain why I've referenced it. So sorry, but I am really not going to leave it in because it is about 2 minutes of me just trying to annoy him by talking in his ear while he's talking to his mum. I don't know. Maybe I'll play it through for the good lady teacher and see whether she finds it amusing. Maybe I will leave it in.
Perfectly fine. My mum was cool with it. She sends her love as well, so it's cool. As I say, the films were fantastic when I first watched them. I'm glad that we got to discuss them. The music was one of the biggest selling points. As I said, I was going to touch on this really at the end, but that Ip Man theme, which hopefully will play us out, was just something special as well. Sometimes you find a little piece of music in a film and you go, that makes this a little bit special. Having a theme for an individual, Ip Man, that's Ip Man's theme for me from now
on. I think that brings us to the end of this little journey through the Ip Man movies. If you've got any opinions and you want to get involved and tell us how awesome we are or how stupid we are, you can. Go to facebook.com/the ScreenMasters. You can send us a message over there or post on the page. You can also email directly at screenmasters@bitebackmedia.co.uk. The bite is spelled like a computer bite, not a food bite. So, before next episode in 2 weeks will be the second part of our Band of Brothers exploration, covering episodes 6 through 10. Before I sign off, I would just like to leave you with one final thought, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, please keep this going. If we had a Twitter, we would. But don't forget, #fuck the Snyder Cut.
Fuck the Snyder Cut.
On that note,
well done for I'm giving you a round of applause for remembering that, by the way. That's fantastic. I mentioned it yesterday in our private group chat with the boys, and I'm glad that you bloody remembered that. Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, #fuck the Snyder Cut, everyone. It's too late, but fuck the Snyder Cut anyway. We'll discuss why we're saying this next episode. So we'll be covering a bit of news. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Bav.
I've been Fluff.
And this has been ScreenMasters.